Good evening, folks. I'm Landon with Mermaid Press. Today, we're going to talk about some travel tips, travel considerations with my buddy Kyle here. We'll get right into it. Stick with us. Me and him served together in the military. How long have we known each other, Kyle?
About 5 years.
About 5 years or so? All right.
No.
Around there. Well, we served together for about 5 years. We've known together about, what, 8 now.
Yeah.
So, me and him are about on the same page with self-protection, marksmanship, and things. Me and him took a very similar path when we were coming up in our warrior studies. And I brought him in. One, he's in the area, so I figured why not have a good friend on, somebody that has a lot of great input. But we traveled a lot together, and this is just something we take a lot of passion in. We do want to teach the everyday man how to protect themselves on the go. So we'll get started, and the first point on my list here is I want to talk about hotel bathrooms. It's not exactly a tactical point, but it does bring to the fact that there are bathrooms out there for you to use. I know some people have kids, elderly folks, and guess what? Hotels, they're typically cleaner.
Yeah.
They're readily available. They're not exactly open to the public, but if you walk into the place like you own it.
And we're not talking about checking into a room to use a bathroom. Most hotel lobbies, they have a bathroom. And you walk in there and you say, hey, can you show me where the bathroom is? Or, you act like you're you're checked into the hotel. They're going to show you where the bathroom is.
Yeah.
And they're not going to ask any questions.
Exactly. And if they tell you you can't use it, just be like, dude, it's right there. Right.
Or go to the next hotel.
And we don't ask, can I use your bathroom? You go, where's the bathroom?
Yeah.
Right? With some confidence.
Yeah. So why do we want to use a hotel bathroom instead of, say a truck or stop bathroom or a gas station in the middle of Chicago?
Exactly. Well, the thing about like a truck stop in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, if it's the Beacon in the night that's open 24 hours, the transient population will come there, and that's typically what most folks like to avoid when they go to the grocery store too. So it's best to avoid the groups of people you really want to avoid, and you know where they're going to be. They're going to be at the desert oasis at night where everything's closed, especially in small town America.
I find, when I travel a lot, and when I try to do it on a budget, and I try to find the cheapest places to go and the cheapest hotel room to get for a night, I find that, I'm with, I don't want to say a lower class population, but you can definitely tell that you don't feel as settled as you would as if you were at the Ritz-Carlton.
You don't want to go to the hotel that has nightly stabbings.
Yeah. Clean sheets, no blood.
And it's like watching Live PD, that hotel in Spartanburg, South Carolina. It's the same hotel. Every time, you pass it on 26 when you drive past it. I've seen it. Right? Okay, so to the next point. Kyle is very illuminated in the gray man theory and everything, but a tap to blend in, right? Dress, attitude, and tourist locations. So what kind of things can people expect just to adapt to a certain area?
Well, you generally have to live there, and how can you put yourself there before you get there is you do a little bit of research. You're going to research where you want to go for dinner. You're going to research what you want to do during the day. So why don't you research the other things that come along with being in a space and what the average person may look like in that space, and try to be the average. If you're at a beach, wear beach attire. You don't go out wearing heavy sweaters and baggy jeans, and because there are people who do. And if you're up in the mountains in Colorado, you probably don't want to be in beach attire, alternatively. So it's just simple things, and it's not about looking cool. It's about not drawing unwanted observation, essentially. So.
Well, and one weird resource that people kind of don't consider, Snapchat on the map, you see the hot spots. If you're going to Nashville, Tennessee, tap on that. See what people are wearing. See what people are doing. They might be in a bar, but hell, if they're wearing cowboy hats, that's part of the environment.
I've only messed with that a little bit, and that's the first time I've heard that.
Right.
So that's a thing.
Right. And it's literally an eye into where you want to go if it's available. The next point, it's a little more tactical than I would love to get into, but arming yourself. Right. Learning local laws, doing your concealed carry if you're a legal card holder,
Yep.
and improvised weapons. A padlock tied to a bandana. It's not a weapon in the eyes of most people,
Yep.
but in the eyes of the capable or the people who are desperate for something, it's everything you need.
You know, and if you're carrying something, there's a couple considerations. Why are you carrying this? You know, if you're driving and you have a baseball bat in your trunk, but you don't have a glove or you don't have a baseball, it's considered a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
If you have those things with it, generally you can articulate that it's because you might be practicing baseball.
Yeah,
you know,
oddly enough.
You're not looking for trouble, and it's something to think about. If you're carrying a padlock in a sock, you know, you should be prepared to hit somebody with a padlock in a sock.
Yeah.
Or else somebody's going to take it from you and hit you with a padlock in a sock, you know.
Exactly.
Don't carry something that you don't have the mindset to use. And don't carry something that is unwieldy or will draw attention to you.
Exactly. And learning local laws is important too with that. You know, some places it is illegal to have a pocket knife in your pocket.
Absolutely.
It is a concealed weapon by their standard. And with
New Jersey.
Yeah, exactly. And right. And in concealed carry purposes, listen, where I live, it's not exactly legal to walk into a bank concealed carrying, but in some other place it might be. And you need, it is your obligation as a legal, law-abiding, carrying citizen to understand the laws. It's your obligation to understand your rights. It's definitely your obligation to understand laws you could break by expressing your freedoms.
Yep.
Right? So, next point, pre-planning, reconning the area, learning hospitals and police stations.
Yep. And other points of interest.
Yeah.
You know, it's...
I don't need to know the address to the hospital, but I do need to know the street it's on, or the name of the hospital. In most areas, you know, I want to go to Parkview Regional. I want to go to Maxwell Health, whatever. It's knowing the name of the place, because when you get on that ambulance, if you're in an area you're unfamiliar with,
Absolutely.
you have no idea where you're going if you don't know the name of the hospital, at least.
You know, a good tip, you know, if you really care about this stuff, if you really want to be the person in your group that's locked in, who, whenever everything goes wrong, because things can go wrong, that knows what they're doing, it all comes to pre-planning and having alternative methods to getting information. You don't want to focus on, okay, I know the address and I can type it into Google Maps and it'll bring me there. You should probably know how many miles away, the average time it might take you, what variables in your line of travel that there would be, if you're going to run into traffic at certain times of day, if there's one hospital or one police station that's closer than others, or if traffic affects that. You know, we're in a very dynamic situation, a dynamic environment, so know the things that can change based on time of day. And you know, is your place of residence or wherever you're staying, is that near a school? Because if it's near a school and it's 4 o'clock and something happens, you could be sitting in a line of traffic with school buses and kids and pets and parents and whatever else comes with that. So, you know, it all comes down to just 20 minutes of research.
Yeah, and to steal a point you made earlier, on Google Earth, use this, counter your intelligence that you've gathered on a map with actual pictures of the area.
Yep.
Just because that gray box on the map is a gray box doesn't mean it's not a skyscraper.
Yep.
Understanding your lines of sight and the vegetation, the trees. I've pulled into places like I can't see the building because there was a big, it was green on the map, right? But I didn't know it was redwoods.
Yep.
It was a redwoods between me and them.
You know, and it can help set an expectation for the area when you arrive. So you see an area that 3 years ago when they took the satellite image was very nice, and it looked great, and it looks great on Google Earth in 3D or whatever it is on there, and you show up and it's run down. There's some people say, like, I showed up into Asheville a couple weeks ago and I was on a budget. I'm trying to find a cheap place to be for 2 weeks. We pull into the hotel that we booked and there's a guy literally changing the engine out of a Cutlass. He's literally got the engine in the air
with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth.
Exactly.
Going, what the hell are you looking at?
Yeah, he's on the backside of the hotel. And I said, we need to change our reservation.
Yeah.
You know, my gut feeling said, you know, there's too many variables.
Yeah, that
I
can't
don't
account
feel
for.
comfortable. You know, the test is, could I leave this area and leave, you know, somebody who could take care of themselves, but isn't necessarily at the same level as me, or, you know, my girlfriend.
You're doing another one with me. All right, so all right, we've used the bathroom at the hotel. We pre-planned the route.
Yeah.
We did some recon. Well, what about family considerations? Telling the family where we went.
Yeah.
Right? I don't go on a hiking trip without texting my dad, like even if it's 10 minutes before I'm out of cell range, and go, hey, I'm going to be gone for this long. This is where I'm going. I'll be in this area. And I brought this amount of stuff with me. That's important. That's something people skip with that. They go, hey, what... Because when the search and rescue party comes, they go, what do they have with them?
Yeah, exactly. How long do we have to look for them before
and that's one reason I hung this up here. This little butt pack here, I have a poncho in there. I got my water.
Yep.
This can sustain me for a day or two, no problem. There's a little bit of rice, and I will be fine. I can make fire. I got my water. I'm good. So, you know, telling people where you go. Telling grandma, hey, I'm going east on 40. Highway 40, and I will be there today, and then I will be back by this time. If I'm not back by this time, this is where you start looking.
Yep, that's pretty relevant information for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's a pretty temperate climate here, but, you know, I lived at 9,500 feet for a few years. Weather changes quick. Conditions change. I've been caught several times to the point where I've had to call my girlfriend to pick me up. I'm out on my bike, I can't get back.
Yeah.
My legs are cramping, I can't even pedal.
Dave Canterbury would call that inconvenient camping.
Yep, exactly.
Right? You almost inconvenient camped if you didn't have a way out.
The weather's turned, drops 20 degrees.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we're below freezing.
And this isn't even like, let's say there is a natural disaster. The family needs to understand where the area you're at, because they can look at a map and go, oh shit, they're in the middle of it.
Exactly.
We might need to go throw a rope across a bridge for somebody.
And that's, every climate has a situation where it can turn deadly, where you don't get to have that foresight to where you see the storm coming.
Yeah.
You know, out here it could be flooding, because the rain is nuts out here.
Yeah.
You know, you could be caught down by the river on a Tuesday and you're drinking beer and having a great time, and then 50 miles upriver it's monsoon raining and you're about to get caught.
Yeah, and then you're not going to be back Tuesday night.
Exactly.
Which I hope somebody expected you to be back by 8 o'clock. Hey, he didn't make dinner and he didn't tell me where he's at.
Yeah.
I might
there's a problem.
Need to drive out there and see if I can find this problem. Right,
now,
at least.
Where this is funny. For anybody who's in the services or anything like that, where do you think these ideas came from? With
Liberty.
That little yeah.
Liberty. Oh, good old Libo, baby.
Before you go anywhere that isn't scheduled, you need to write down, you know, what you're bringing, what some things you might run into are, you know, some hazards, how you're going to mitigate those hazards, and at least show that you're thinking about that before you can have your freedom.
Your brain is already in the soup.
Yep, exactly.
Yep. And well, and so you told your family where you're going. What about home security while you're away? Using neighbors, social media, lights, and possibly some house sitting. So what do you think about that?
I think that if you don't, you're probably going to get robbed.
Yeah, and speaking personal experience from you, right?
Trust me, it's not a great time.
It's not a great time.
No.
But forgive the note turning. Every video requires notes.
Oh, yeah.
So neighbor security. Your neighbors are assets.
Yeah.
Even if you have a neighbor you don't like, you have other neighbors. Let them know you're going to be out of town.
That's even a consideration too. If you have a neighbor that you don't like, and you're friends with them for some reason on social media, maybe you don't post that you're leaving on social media.
Yeah. Put all the pictures from Puerto Rico up when you get back.
Yep.
Nobody will know you're gone.
Folks, this is not time sensitive information.
Yeah, exactly. Not time sensitive at all. And the lights. Leave a light on in the house. What? How much did you say a light bulb costs a year?
8 cents a year.
Yeah.
For the average light bulb to be run 24/7 for a year.
And that's not even being green.
Yeah. Well, you know, it is an LED light.
I could go find 8 cents in the street. You give me 20 minutes, right? Yeah. You know, so that it's not even on the radar.
Yeah, it's small things.
Yep.
You know, generally, depending on where you live, if you're a target for that sort of thing, it's going to happen while you're away. It's going to happen while you get complacent, and they'll be looking at you for several months. Yeah. Whether they are going to rob you or they have any plans, they're still going to be looking at you as a potential target. Exactly. And the second, say, even if it's as simple as closing your door and walking away too fast for what's reasonable to lock your door, well, now your door is unlocked to them. And now they'll at least probe. And if you don't have any defenses set up, a light on, an animal that's being taken care of when you're not home, it'll bark. Things like that to stop the next step, which is open the door, walk inside, then you're a target. You're a soft target. Exactly. So.
And house sitting, man. If you got some people, everybody's got that friend, failure to launch style, right? They're living in mom's basement. They would love a place to take their girlfriend to watch a movie for a weekend.
Yep, absolutely.
It's almost as good as having good neighbors. Yep. Right? It's having somebody you trust in your house.
Yeah,
right?
generally,
and they can take care of the animals and everything if you teach them right.
You don't even have to pay them. No. People generally, you know, it's a small vacation. Even if it's 3-4 hours a day, just come over and hang out at your place, you know, and leave some beer in the fridge. Yep. Leave some
payment in beer, please.
Some Hot Pockets, maybe a movie, something to make it worth.
Give them the Wi-Fi password.
You know, you don't have to pay money. It's So it's definitely a good thing. It's all about community.
I have a friend who has a pool, and I'm telling you, that is payment enough.
Exactly. You know, there's power in numbers, and the more people you can get on your side, who you trust, you know, the better.
It's a power in network.
Yeah,
it's a power in networking, and having good friends is part of that. Birds of a feather, right? You're a good person, good people flock to you.
Yep, absolutely.
And for while you're on the go, these next 2 points are for, you know, on the move stuff. Fuel concerns, filling up around 1/2 to 1/4 tank, so you can find a decent gas station. Having that power. When you see that gas tank getting low, you don't just stop at the first gas station, because like we said, the transient population, there's not always the ideal environment where you want to go park your Lexus and fill it up and then walk inside and get a candy bar. So having it, you're giving yourself freedom. The plane doesn't crash right under where it goes down. It crashes a mile out.
Exactly. That planning, you know, the moves you make now will affect you. You know, I don't know if you guys know the game Snake on the cell phones.
Yeah!
It's, you know, you travel around collecting the little dots. Your snake gets bigger and bigger, and you got to plan further and further and further ahead.
That's a great analogy.
The bigger the snake, the bigger the family you have, the further out you need to plan.
Exactly.
So,
You're right. Prepping plans, okay? There's multiple points in this, but things you need to bring with you. It's just a list. You can type it up, put it on the fridge, make sure the car's packed.
And you know what? It's pretty fun to feel like a secret agent sometimes.
Doesn't it?
Go out to the stores and make your little bag, but how good would it feel if that bag, if that little bit of planning that you did, saved your kid's life?
Exactly.
Saved your life, you know?
And the first point I have is money. If you're leaving the house without enough money to get back, it's not you didn't earn your vacation at that point. And I understand there's emergencies for people, but you need to understand the goal of any time you get in that car and leave the house is to get back home.
Yep.
Regardless.
Absolutely.
I don't care if I have to trade my Rolex watch for a taxi ride.
Yep.
20 miles.
Yep.
It's worth it because home is where I need to be. My family is there.
Yep.
The people I am in charge of protecting is there. I cannot let them down.
Yep. And you know, it doesn't have to be so frantic. Even if it's just something, you know, if you're traveling long distances, say you're pulling a trailer maybe, it doesn't have to be so budget oriented. It can be something as simple as carrying a gallon of fuel in a container in the back of your car, in the back of your truck, whatever it is, and it'll get you out of a tight situation. Say you're pulling a trailer, your gas light is going to come on at about 20 miles of distance instead of 30 or 40 miles of distance. Personal experience, I do carry that.
Yep.
And on my trip from Colorado to here, I did rely on that can to get me to the better gas station.
Yeah.
We pulled over, we were in Chicago. The place that we were at, I didn't feel comfortable going inside, using the bathroom, and leaving the people who I'm in charge of their safety by themselves. You know, it wasn't a safe place to be.
Yeah, exactly.
We weren't exactly gray men there. We had nicer vehicles than the rest of the population, pulling a trailer, pulling a U-Haul of all trailers.
And that only indicates one thing,
Yep.
you moving.
So we moved 500 yards down the road. I put the gallon of fuel in. We went another 10 miles, and we found a better gas station, you know, down the road a bit.
And regardless of what the situation was, it made you feel more comfortable.
Absolutely.
Which is way more important than anything else.
Yeah.
If you're not comfortable in a situation, you don't need to be there.
It put my mind to ease.
Exactly.
It put my girlfriend's mind to ease.
Exactly.
And it probably put our dog's mind to ease because he could see that we weren't stressed out.
Exactly.
So if that matters to you, then that's a plus to
right?
it.
So money and then car maintenance.
Oh, yeah.
Know how to change a tire. Know how to change your oil. Do you need to change it before you go? Do you need new tires before you need to go?
Yeah.
Understanding your vehicle's capabilities. That's a big thing, too. I can't just take my tiny little sedan off of a, into a ditch, or I would struggle going over a curb. So there are considerations for me. If you have a 4x4 vehicle, a curb is not even on your radar.
Understand the difference between front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive.
Yeah, and the conditions that are used. Plan for other family members. Like I said about grandma, right? If I have to, I can't just, along with planning to walk home, I can't just walk 300 miles with my grandmother who is in a walker.
Absolutely.
I can't do it. Yeah. If I have to get an ox cart, my grandmother's worth it.
Have several different services available to alternative movement. You got Uber, you got Lyft, you got a slurry of different apps. You got your hometown taxis.
Yeah. Taxis are wonderful. They're the county getaway vehicle.
You know what? If it's 2 in the morning and all those things aren't available, the last thing you can do is you can call the police department that you should know which police department it is for the area that you're in, and you can tell them your situation, and 9 times out of 10 that they'll get somebody out there to help you out. Exactly. Whether they bring you gas, they help.
Planning for evacuation routes, i.e. hurricanes. If nobody understands an evacuation route, they typically close down both sides of the highway and have it one direction. If it's a 6-lane highway, it's 6 lanes out of Dodge. Yep. Right? And you can set your GPS around those or to them. There's an evacuation mode.
You can set your GPS. I don't know how the technology works in emergency zones and such, if they turn it off or anything like that, but you can set your GPS to avoid highways. You could take the back ways out of town in a town that you don't know.
And that's route preparedness, too. That's pre-planning. It's doing your acceptable amount of recon. Yep. Plan to shelter in place. Can this hotel withstand a hurricane? Am I on the first floor and need to worry about storm surge? Because if I do, I either need to ask for another room or understand that my situation is different than the person that's in the room above me.
Absolutely.
And this is for the more recent history too. Civil unrest, planning around it. We're in the information age. Odds are you're watching this on a phone. Make sure there's not some political tension kicking off in the town you're about to go to or the city. And understand the ways around it. Where it is in the town.
How would you find out if there is said political unrest? And what are some ways that you could find out if that was? Because I've heard a couple of things about Snapchat. You could maybe Google, but maybe you could go into more detail.
And on Twitter, hashtag a movement and see what they're doing in that town.
Exactly.
Because odds are there's Antifa Portland. Yeah. And you can go and see if they have a demonstration planned. And if you want to be a part of that, that's all you. But if you don't, which if you're vacationing, you probably don't.
Yeah, some people do vacation protest, but other people don't, and they don't want to be a part of that. And if you don't want to be a part of that, some things you could do are, you know, Google keywords. Maybe you're fishing for information, so you don't know that there is some sort of protest, but maybe just type in, you know, town that I'm going to, protests, or town that I'm going to, shootings, or anything like that. Go on, you know, like you said, Twitter, type in hashtag blank protest.
Final point, especially because the rain's starting, I love that I have a metal roof. Acceptable risk.
Okay. Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Yeah.
Acceptable risk to me, I don't want to be in danger.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like I'm going to be in danger.
Yep.
So when you pull up and the hotel has bars on the windows and a gated parking lot, is it acceptable for you to stay there and know it? Maybe you didn't know that before you got there. Mm-hmm. You saw the guy working on the cutlass in the back.
Yeah, exactly.
So it wasn't acceptable to you to have those variables.
Is $30-40 a night worth possibly getting robbed?
Yeah. Is it?
Getting hurt?
And that's acceptable risk.
Yeah.
Some people are perfectly comfortable with that, and some people don't have a choice.
Yeah.
But within that, they still have acceptable risk. Mm-hmm. So, parting shots, Kyle. What's if you were to boil all we just talked about down, what's the one thing you would take away?
Mindset.
Mindset. All right.
Absolutely. It's thinking about where you're going before you're doing it. Thinking about what you say before you say it.
Yep.
And thinking about having accountability for every action that you take.
Wonderful. I don't think I could put it any better. I really don't. Well, thanks for showing up, guys. Like and subscribe to all that stuff. But I'll be around. Be sticking around on Snapchat, still doing tech tips on there. I'll eventually put Snapchat up on here. But till then, stay safe.